It is without a doubt one of the greatest consoles of all time. One of the consoles that truly shaped an entire generation of gamers was none other than the Super Nintendo. For those that know me well, knew that I grew up as a Sega kid. Even though I loved the Nintendo Entertainment System when it first came out, for some reason I didn't play the Super Nintendo until later in life. In fact, during the infamous console wars of the 90s, when the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo were going head to head in a blockbuster competition for everyone's market dollars, I would have said that I was a huge fan of the Sega Genesis instead of the Super Nintendo. But much to my chagrin and full-on transparent and honest acknowledgement later in life, I have to admit that objectively, the Super Nintendo probably was the best retro console of all time. I even ranked it as number 1 on my objective list that came out about a year ago. The full-on scope of the heavy influence the Super Nintendo had on not just gaming technology in the 90s and the fantastic adventures we were able to go on, but also in pulp culture today really shows how prevalent it really was. It was about time I put together my top 8 list of Super Nintendo games, so sit back, relax, and enjoy my picks. Kicking off the list at number 8, we have Earthbound, an unmistakable RPG and a truly one-of-a-kind gaming experience. If I had to try to somehow describe Earthbound to someone who has never played it before, I would start by saying that it is 100% an unconventional approach to a typical RPG, especially if you played games like Final Fantasy and also Dragon Warrior in the past. You may not like this game at first, but even myself, the more and more I played it, the more and more I started to fall in love with it because of all its hilarious takes on your typical RPG, and it even tried to troll you at times. Which obviously you may not like at first if you're a traditional RPG enthusiast like myself, but obviously throughout the entirety of this game, you learn to not take it seriously and just sit back, relax, play the game, and enjoy the ride. The absolute thrill of this game doesn't come from optimizing your character party, but more so in just being able to laugh at all the hilarious things that happen along your adventure. Highly suggested. Coming in at number 7 and moving right along, we have Street Fighter II Turbo, Hyper Fighting. Yes, I know many of you would probably put new challengers above this game in a ranking, but for me, this game has really struck a chord with me during this all-time popular era of arcade-style fighters. Street Fighter II Turbo Hyper Fighting was one of those games for me where I can vividly remember the very first time I ever played it. It was one of those pizza-fueled and Mountain Dew-inspired long nights of playing this game until I fully beat it as one of my favorite characters, either Ryu or Chun-Li. I liked Ryu at first, but the more and more I played with Chun-Li, I realized that she was an absolute killer threat in this game. But the true, ultimately exciting aspect of this game is that you can pick from any of the starting characters and then optimize your strategy to your own liking to kick butt and take names as you blast your way to the end boss. This game is an awesome example of how the Super Nintendo's improved gaming technology allowed gamers around the world to bring the arcade into their home living rooms. Coming in at number 6 is Donkey Kong Country. This game didn't just show off the new improved Super Nintendo technology, but it also did a lot of other things in such a compelling way. First of all, you get to play as Donkey Kong, the historic villain in Nintendo's wide and long-range and successful history. As you play through this platform, you realize that this game got so many things so incredibly right. This included absolutely stunning for the time graphics, of which I can truly still appreciate today, captivating level design that kept you on your toes throughout the entirety of the game, an exciting and heart-thumping soundtrack that was kind of a masterpiece all on its own. The key word here is dynamic, as this game was dynamic in every single possible way. As you went through the game and eventually faced off with King K. Rool at the end, you really were brought on this adventure that was such a perfect backdrop for a Saturday or Sunday playing video games with your best friends. This game was a smashing hit with gamers when it first came out and represented the first of many successful titles within this awesome franchise. Alright, coming in at number 5 is Final Fantasy VI, or Final Fantasy III in North America. No matter how you want to call it, this game was an absolute RPG masterpiece in so many different ways. And yes, I do realize as I was putting this list together, I could have easily included every single pick as an RPG because that's how good the system was at producing awesome, thrilling, exhilarating RPGs. But I decided to limit myself to 3, so there's one more coming up and you can probably guess which one it is. But I digress. Final Fantasy VI, or Final Fantasy III in North America, was such an amazing game, and the reason why I liked it so much was really it had one of the best stories, or actually, I should rephrase that. It had the best story of any RPG I have ever played in my life, and that's saying quite a lot from someone who absolutely loves the RPG genre of gaming. Add to that one of the most compelling and adventurous cast of playable characters in any RPG I've ever played, including an unforgettable soundtrack up until the very end boss battle, including one of the most legendary and epic bosses of all time that will ever sink in front of our nightmares for days to come, and you have one of the best games ever made in the RPG genre and my personal favorite Final Fantasy ever made. Alright, back to platformers, of which the Super Nintendo was the king of platformers, and number 4, the unforgettable Super Mario World. Wow, holy cow, where do I start? First of all, this game introduces Yoshi, really the best sidekick ever in any game or any gaming franchise ever. Sorry Luigi and little brothers everywhere, I'm a little brother myself so I can definitely attune to this. Yoshi, you are the best sidekick of all time. What I really loved about this game, other than the obviously adorable Yoshi and the visually stunning backdrop to every single part of the level design as you went through this awesome and epic adventure, was really how you could exploit all the secrets, find out all the different ways in which you could play this adventure each and every time you picked up the controller. Whether you were going through and doing a long play and playing every single level, or finding all the secret exits on your way to Star Row and eventually Bowser's Castle, this game was an absolute masterpiece in its level design, its character development, and ultimately had one of the best endings that made it so worth it to play through this entire game. Before I get into our top 3, let's go over the longest honorable mentions list that I've ever put together because this is for such an epic system. Mega Man X 100% deserves to be on this honorable mentions list, hands down. So does Super Castlevania 4. If this list had been extended to a longer list, this for sure would have made my favorite picks list. This game represents the latest Super Nintendo installment of such a historic franchise. And who can forget Contra 3 The Alien Wars? If you've ever completed this game, my heartfelt props go out to you. This game is amazing and so much fun to play. I fully understand I may be receiving some hate mail from not including Super Mario Kart in my top 8 list, but hey, we had to boil the list down, and I absolutely love playing this game, as well as all the additional games in this franchise. Kirby Superstar is one of those games that I absolutely suggest playing at least once in your life. What a great game this is, and honestly this could be anyone else's number 1 pick. Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars was a game I thoroughly enjoyed from start to finish. If you like RPGs and Super Mario, then this is a winning combination for you to play. Secret of Mana was another thrilling RPG on the Super Nintendo. Although I haven't quite beat this game yet, I can say it definitely deserves an honorable mention. Star Fox was a truly groundbreaking game, and honestly it might have suffered from being a little bit too far ahead of the technology that we were able to really explore the graphics on. I have to admit, I am a sucker for any Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, and Turtles in Time was an excellent version of the classic beat 'em up with our 4 favorite heroes. Alright, back to our top 3, and if you know anything about me and my love for RPGs, you probably knew this game was coming. Coming in at number 3 is the legendary Chrono Trigger. Honestly, with this great of a game, it's hard to know even where to start. But let's start with the graphics. Oh my goodness, going through this game is a visual masterpiece and one that you'll never forget for the rest of your life after playing through the full game. Also, the innovative and I would almost say daring battle system in this game really allowed you to explore all new ways to kick the enemy's butt, both from an individual party member perspective and also from the various different super strong combos as well. But in all honesty, my absolute favorite aspect of this game and what made it so great for me was that you never had to feel as though you had to grind through any individual aspect of the game to get to the next step. There was such a wide range of gameplay within this RPG that it really allowed you to personalize and customize your gaming experience as you traveled throughout this amazing adventure. This game was truly innovative from start to finish, and one really awesome aspect of it as well was that you got to play the New Game Plus if you went through the Black Omen, meaning you could restart this game with all the different various items and skill sets that you had beforehand when you beat the game prior, and you could replay the game, absolutely murder and destroy any of the bosses that currently exist, and you could see all the various different endings of the game. What an incredible RPG. Alright, we're into our top 2. Are you excited yet? Coming in at number 2 is Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. This is, and probably always will be, my favorite Legend of Zelda title in the franchise. Yes, I've played Ocarina of Time and absolutely loved it. I've also played Breath of the Wild many times over. And you know what? I'm the kind of guy that would play every single game to completion, getting 100% of all the items before I eventually beat the end boss. And I have to say, from start to finish, this is the best Zelda game, at least from my humble opinion, that currently exists and may ever exist. This game represents an awesome balance of so many incredible things, incredible storytelling, awesome gameplay, probably the best dungeon design in any Legend of Zelda game that exists, including my favorite end dungeon to any Legend of Zelda game ever, and a truly unique end boss battle that'll make it all worthwhile to go through and collect everything, and also even awesome scenes like this. Can you remember getting the Master Sword for the first time? Truly unforgettable and truly epic. I remember the first time I ever beat this game, I had to take an hour-long break just to look back and realize how great of a game this really was. Alright, drum roll please for our top pick. Coming in at number 1 is Super Metroid. This is, and forever will be, my favorite Super Nintendo game of all time. Honestly, as I was putting this top 8 list together of my favorite Super Nintendo games, I started with Super Metroid at the top and just filled in the rest based upon how fun, how exciting, and how innovative the rest of these games were to play. In a top 8 list of some of the best games of all time, not just the best games on the Super Nintendo or even in the 16-bit era, that represents such an incredible leap in game and technology and innovative use of level design and also merging and much more visually compelling graphics. It is so much fun to play through this game for the first, second, and even the 100th time because you're able to explore it in all new ways. Yes, absolutely, when you first play this game it may come off as a little Nintendo hard, but as you're able to play through it, find all the secrets, do so much fun exploring, and obviously battle some of the most epic bosses in 16-bit history, you're rewarded at every turn for all of your hard work. I wouldn't place this game not only at the top of Super Nintendo lists, but really in my top 5 favorite games of all time, hands down. This game blends so many different wonderful genre of gaming into one awesome masterpiece, somewhat of an action RPG, somewhat of a side-scroller, somewhat of a platformer, somewhat of an absolutely exciting and kind of mysterious and ultimately super atmospheric horror thriller. This game is an absolute masterpiece and represents the finest in gaming on the 16-bit history. This game was such an awesome and innovative blend of so many different things that a game could do right that it really truly invented its own genre of gaming. Yes, the Metroidvania. Ultimately, I will share 3 things that make me absolutely love this game. First of all, it has the best second form of any boss in the 16-bit era, and actually my pick for any favorite second form of any boss ever. Number 2, it has the best escape sequence and endgame to any game I've ever played, not just in the 16-bit era, but at any game I've actually ever played ever. And thirdly, it was so good, it turned me into a Super Nintendo kid. Yes, I used to be a Sega kid, but I officially turned into a lover of the Super Nintendo after playing this amazing game. This is truly one of those games that I will play at every single opportunity I get to, and anytime I have a free, somewhere between 3 and 7 hours. This game is an absolute masterpiece across the 16-bit era and also in gaming history books everywhere. This is my hands down easy pick for number 1. Thank you so much for watching my top 8 list of my favorite Super Nintendo games. If you haven't already, make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel for future awesome retro and new gaming content. Also, make sure to ring the bell and get notified of any new videos that I post so you can be the first to watch them. Did I miss any of your favorite Super Nintendo games? Make sure to let me know in the comments below. Thank you again so much for watching my video, and just remember, damn, it feels good to be a gamer.